is up, YouTube? As you can see, I'm still in the Philippines. My boo-boo bought me this. They make this amazing mango milkshake, and it's hot. It's hotter than 100 hamburgers outside, y'all. The family's out there eating or whatever, so they enjoying each other's company while I'm in here working.
Hollywood didn't wake up ready for this. But when Katt Williams and 50 Cent start talking at the same time, people stop laughing and start checking exits. Because this wasn't comedy hour. This wasn't trolling for fun. This was that uncomfortable moment when jokes feel a little too informed and sarcasm sounds suspiciously like a warning. Whispers turned into headlines. Headlines turned into timelines on fire. And suddenly one name sat at the center of everything. Sean Combs. And no, nobody filed paperwork on Instagram. Nobody read indictments on podcasts. What happened was something far messier and far more dangerous in celebrity culture. Two outspoken figures implied that Diddy might not be standing alone when the dust finally settles. That's when Hollywood energy shifted. Smiles got tighter. Silence got louder. And certain celebrities stopped posting like they were on vacation and started posting like they were testifying without a microphone. This wasn't an accusation list. This was implication warfare. The kind that makes PR teams sweat and group chats go quiet. The kind that turns jokes into side eyes and laughter into wait. Do they know something? This made reality TV look scripted. This made influencer beef look childish. Because when Katt and 50 hint, the internet listens and then immediately panics. This didn't start with sirens, subpoenas, or court.
I button hit that bell. Let's see what Katt got to say, man. Let's check this bad boy.
You know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen.
It's to act like it ain't even
They all
happened,
do the
cousin.
same job.
They just gave P. Diddy 4 years. Say that again.
Or court sketches. It started with tone. The kind of tone that makes jokes feel less funny and laughter sound nervous. Because anyone who has followed Katt Williams for more than 5 minutes knows his comedy isn't random chaos. It's observation sharpened into a weapon. He jokes like someone who's been in rooms long enough to know when the vibe is off, when the laughs are forced, and when people suddenly stop making eye contact. So when Katt started implying that the situation surrounding Sean Combs might not be a one-man downfall, the internet didn't hear comedy. They heard a warning disguised as humor. The kind that makes people laugh first, then think, then quietly panic when the dots start connecting themselves. And then 50 Cent entered the chat, which is never accidental and never subtle. 50 doesn't need long speeches. He uses timing, captions, and silence like chess moves. When he jokes about serious situations, it's rarely for entertainment alone. It's usually because he knows the audience already suspects something and just needs permission to say it out loud. That's when the energy shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough for people to notice. Suddenly, clips from years ago resurfaced with new meaning. Interviews that once felt playful got replayed with suspicion. Laughs were reinterpreted as discomfort. Pauses became telling. The internet did what it always does best: it rewrote the past. With today's context, what made this moment combustible wasn't that anyone officially named names. It was that they didn't have to. Implication is more powerful than accusation in celebrity culture. Accusations demand proof. Implications invite imagination. And imagination spreads faster than facts ever could. Fans started noticing patterns. Who stopped posting overnight? Who suddenly disabled comments? Who shifted from flashy content to inspirational quotes about peace and growth? Those moves might mean nothing individually, but together they painted a picture people couldn't ignore. Hollywood's digital behavior changed, and everyone felt it. Katt's long-standing commentary about the industry protecting itself until it can't anymore resurfaced too. He's been saying for years that certain behavior gets laughed off, normalized, and buried until the cost of silence becomes too high. When he framed the Diddy situation as potentially larger than one person, it validated a quiet suspicion people already had but never voiced publicly. Meanwhile, 50 Cent leaned into the chaos like it was a familiar playground. His post didn't accuse. They invited interpretation. He joked the way someone jokes when they're confident the room already knows the punchline. And that confidence made people uneasy. Because confidence suggests information. The internet split instantly. Some people accused both men of clout chasing, saying this was just another attempt to ride a trending topic for attention. That argument lasted about 5 minutes before getting buried under years of footage, interviews, and industry whispers people suddenly remembered all at once. Because clout chasing doesn't usually come with this much consistency. Others argued this was calculated exposure. That Katt and 50 were saying just enough to force conversations without risking direct statements. A strategy that lets the internet do the dirty work while they stay legally untouchable. Whether intentional or not, it worked. Suddenly, Diddy's name wasn't floating alone anymore. It was surrounded by question marks. And in celebrity culture, question marks are radioactive. People don't need answers to panic. They just need uncertainty. The reaction from Hollywood was immediate, but quiet. No mass statements. No unified defense. Just distance. And distance speaks volumes in an industry built on association. When people stop standing next to you publicly, it sends a message louder than any denial ever could. Fans started asking uncomfortable questions. Not about guilt, but about proximity. Who knew what? Who was around for what? Who laughed things off that shouldn't have been laughed off? And once those questions enter the conversation, there's no erasing them. The sarcasm online was brutal. People joked that this felt less like a scandal and more like the opening episode of a long-running docuseries. Others said it was giving Hollywood reckoning loading energy. Memes compared the situation to dominoes lined up too neatly to be accidental. And while everyone laughed, the tension underneath stayed heavy. What made this moment especially unsettling was how plausible it felt to people. Not proven, not confirmed, just plausible enough to stick. Because the entertainment industry has trained audiences to believe that the truth usually comes out late and ugly. Katt's role as a truth teller archetype grew stronger in this moment. Whether people agreed with him or not, they recognized a pattern. He's been early before. Early and laughed at. And being early doesn't look impressive until hindsight shows up with receipts. 50. Cent's reputation as someone who enjoys watching chaos didn't help calm anyone down either. If anything, it made people more suspicious. Because he doesn't usually involve himself in situations unless he sees leverage, humor, or inevitability. And his calm demeanor suggested he believed this story wasn't done unfolding. By the end of this phase, the conversation had fully transformed. It wasn't about whether accusations were real. It was about whether the industry could survive another wave of exposure without cracking. People stopped asking, "Is this true?" and started asking, "Who else?" And that question is far more dangerous because once the internet starts asking who else might fall, nobody feels safe. Not because guilt is assumed, but because association becomes a liability. And in Hollywood, perception isn't just reality, it's currency. This wasn't the explosion. This was the pressure building. The quiet before the headlines get louder, the memes get sharper, and the silence gets harder to explain. And everyone could feel it. Whatever was coming next wasn't going to be subtle. Once those implications landed, Hollywood didn't explode, it tensed. The kind of tension you feel right before glass cracks. Because this wasn't loud chaos yet. This was quiet panic dressed up as business as usual. And the internet noticed immediately. Memes hit first, because humor is always the warning shot. Jokes started circulating about celebrity group chats suddenly going silent, about lawyers being added to contacts faster than new stylists, about people deleting photos like they were scrubbing fingerprints. The jokes were funny, sure, but they carried teeth. Everyone knew this felt different from your average scandal cycle. Reaction culture kicked into overdrive. Clips of Katt Williams started circulating again, but now with captions like, "He been telling y'all," and "This aged too well." People replayed his interviews frame by frame, pulling quotes that suddenly felt prophetic. What once sounded like exaggerated comedy now felt uncomfortably specific. Then came 50 Cent, pouring gasoline on the tension with his signature smirk through the screen energy. His posts weren't detailed. They didn't need to be. They were vague enough to avoid statements and sharp enough to spark paranoia. Every caption felt like a wink to insiders and a warning to everyone else. And that's what scared people. Because vagueness invites imagination. And imagination does not play fair. Public outrage followed, disguised as curiosity. People weren't asking who's guilty. They were asking who's nervous. And suddenly, behavior became evidence. Who stopped liking posts? Who unfollowed who? Who quietly turned off comments? The internet treated every digital move like body language in an interrogation room. Celebrity reactions didn't help. Some artists posted cryptic messages about truth coming to light. Others suddenly leaned into spirituality. Posting quotes about karma, faith, and cleansing energy like they were preemptively baptizing their timelines. Nobody said names, but everybody knew the subtext. Hollywood doesn't post inspirational quotes in unison for no reason. Wild analogies started flying. People compared the situation to dominoes stacked too neatly to ignore. Others said it felt like the early episodes of a true crime series where everyone seems normal until you realize half the cast is hiding something. Someone joked this was less a scandal and more a Hollywood audit. And that joke stuck because it felt uncomfortably accurate. The memes got sharper. Edits mashed together old party footage, red carpet smiles, and reaction shots with dramatic music. The internet turned speculation into entertainment, and once that happens, the narrative becomes unstoppable. Because people don't just watch, they remix. Outrage peaked when people started debating accountability. Some argued that implication without proof was dangerous and irresponsible. Others shot back that implication exists because proof is often buried until it's too late. That debate didn't resolve anything. But it did cement one thing: nobody trusted the silence anymore. The name Sean Combs became less about one person and more about a symbol. A symbol of unchecked power, protected circles, and secrets people joke about until they stop being funny. The conversation shifted from individuals to systems. And systems are much harder to defend. At this point, the outrage wasn't even about facts. It was about plausibility. People weren't convinced because of evidence. They were convinced because the story fit too many patterns they'd seen before. And once a narrative fits cultural memory, it doesn't need confirmation to thrive. Hollywood insiders stayed quiet, which only made things worse. No denials. No pushback. Just silence thick enough to chew. And in a culture addicted to statements, silence reads like strategy or fear. Pick your poison. Fans started demanding answers not because they felt entitled, but because uncertainty is unsettling. They wanted clarity, not gossip. But clarity never came. And that vacuum became a breeding ground for theories that spiraled faster by the hour. The situation crossed into something bigger than celebrity drama. It became a referendum on the industry itself. People questioned who gets protected, who gets sacrificed, and who gets ignored until it's convenient to speak up. That's when things got uncomfortable for everyone. Even those not directly involved. By the end of this stretch, the chaos had matured. It wasn't frantic anymore, it was focused. Opinions hardened. Assumptions settled in. And the audience stopped waiting for explanations and started bracing for fallout. Because once speculation reaches this level, the next phase is never quiet. Its consequences: distancing, reputational damage, and people rewriting their public identities in real time, and everyone watching could feel it. The jokes weren't just jokes anymore. They were pressure tests. And something was bound to crack. By the time the conversation should have cooled off, it didn't fade, it hardened. The kind of hard that reshapes reputations quietly, without headlines screaming or press conferences scrambling. Because the real damage in Hollywood never comes from the first joke. It comes from what happens after the jokes stop landing. The aftermath didn't look like chaos. It looked like distance. Subtle, surgical, intentional distance. People stopped being seen together. Old collaborations suddenly felt like relics. Mentions disappeared. Likes vanished. And in an industry built on proximity, separation speaks louder than denial ever could. The reputational impact rippled outward fast. Not just around Sean Combs, but around anyone who had ever shared space, photos, or praise that now felt uncomfortable in hindsight. Suddenly, association became a liability. Old red carpet smiles got reinterpreted. Friendly interviews aged poorly. And the internet did what it always does, rewrote the story. Backward. What made this fallout especially brutal was that nothing needed to be proven to be damaging. This wasn't about court filings or verdicts. This was about perception. And perception doesn't wait for facts. It feeds on silence, timing, and who moves first. Hollywood understands that better than anyone, which is why the reaction was so calculated. Some celebrities quietly pivoted their brands overnight. More charity posts, more growth narratives, more emphasis on legacy and positivity. When the industry senses a storm, everyone suddenly wants to look wholesome. But that shift didn't go unnoticed. People clocked it immediately and started asking why the tone changed all at once. Meanwhile, Katt Williams emerged from this moment looking exactly how he always does after controversy unbothered and oddly validated. His long-standing reputation as someone who says uncomfortable things before they become acceptable worked in his favor again. Whether people agreed with him or not, many admitted one thing quietly. He sounded less crazy than he used to. And then there was 50 Cent, who treated the entire aftermath like a slow-burning victory lap. Not because he needed attention, but because he thrives in moments where the truth feels obvious but unspoken. His restraint became part of the message. No over-explaining. No backtracking. Just a calm confidence that suggested the story wasn't done unfolding. The public perception of power shifted too. People stopped seeing celebrity circles as untouchable and started seeing them as fragile. Not because they were guilty, but because they were exposed. The illusion cracked. And once the illusion cracks, trust doesn't rebuild easily. Fans reacted in stages. First came shock, then curiosity, then skepticism, and finally fatigue. But fatigue didn't mean forgetting. It meant archiving. Screenshots saved. Clips bookmarked. Quotes memorized. This wasn't something people moved past, it became reference material. The kind of story that gets brought up whenever a new scandal smells familiar. The entertainment industry hates patterns, because patterns invite scrutiny. And this situation fit too neatly into a pattern people have seen before. Powerful figures protected by silence. Whispers dismissed as jokes. Truth delayed until it can't be contained. That familiarity made people less forgiving and more suspicious. Behind the scenes, you could almost feel the recalculations happening. PR teams adjusting strategies. Managers advising clients to stay quiet. Lawyers reminding everyone that implication is dangerous, but silence can be worse. It was a chessboard moment, and everyone was moving pieces without announcing it. What lingered most wasn't outrage, it was anticipation. The sense that this wasn't the climax. That whatever comes next wouldn't need hype because the groundwork was already laid. People stopped asking, "Is this real?" and started asking, what happens when the next shoe drops? And that's the most damaging phase of any scandal. When people stop needing proof and start expecting fallout. Because expectation changes behavior. It changes who people trust, who they support, and who they distance themselves from quietly. The cultural impact stretched beyond celebrity gossip. It reignited conversations about accountability, about who gets protected, and about how long silence can masquerade as innocence. Those conversations didn't resolve anything, but they did something more dangerous. They stayed alive. In the end, nobody walked away untouched. Not the names mentioned. Not the names implied. Not even the audience. Because once people see how quickly jokes turn into warnings, they don't listen the same way again. This wasn't a conclusion. It was a checkpoint. A moment where the industry realized the room was watching, listening, and no longer laughing the same way. And whatever happens next, it won't arrive quietly. Because when implication becomes expectation, the fallout doesn't need an announcement. Now let's be honest, if you're still here, you didn't just watch this. You studied it. You paused it. You already formed a theory and told yourself you weren't gonna comment. And yet, here we are. Because this wasn't gossip. This was Hollywood tension wrapped in jokes, silence, and side eyes that felt way too informed to ignore. So don't play shy now. Drop your take in the comments. Who do you think is sweating? Was this comedy doing what comedy always does, telling the truth early? Or was this the internet turning implications into a full-blown panic spiral? Say it loud, say it reckless, say it smart, but say it. The comment section is where the real autopsies happen. Now smash that like button like it owes you rent. Ducked your calls and still hasn't returned your charger. Hit subscribe like you're locking in front row seats before the next headline detonates. Because over here, scandals don't drop weekly, they leak hourly. Turn on notifications too. Because the moment someone deletes a posts a quote about peace, or goes suspiciously quiet, we're already breaking it down. No PR polish. No fake neutrality. Just sharp commentary, wild receipts, and energy that doesn't flinch when Hollywood gets uncomfortable. Let's be clear, this story isn't finished. It's marinating. Because silence doesn't end narratives, it feeds them. And when the next shoe drops, it won't come with a warning label. Stay locked in. Stay curious. Stay messy. This is Fame Blueprint, where the power whispers. The jokes hit different, and the truth always leaks before it's supposed to. Truth always leaks before it's supposed to.